line number one that you probably miss that's completely normal in theory if you're playing something like 25 or 50 NL is 3-betting polarized blind versus blind. You might be 3-betting polarized to an extent. It might be that you find the good value hands in this range, and that you also find hands like 6-5 suited that are the more obvious bluffs. But are you 3-betting Jack 8 off, King 7 off, Ace 6 off, Ace 3 off, Ace deuce off, Jack 3 suited, 10-4 suited, and things like this? And do you understand why you could do that? Because here's the thing, I'm not trying to get you to copy this strategy. I'm not saying if you replicate this strategy by the frequency that magical golden rain will fall from the sky and it will propel your bankroll up to the next stake. You can move up in stakes. That's not how it works, but 3-betting is very, very lucrative in a game like 25 or 50 NL because most small blind opponents are not going to be very skilled at playing 3-bet pots out of position as the caller, at defending enough by 4-betting. And you're going to have a big edge in the big blind by 3-betting here, not just pre-flop because you just have a lot of fold equity and probably won't get 4-bet too much by most regs and certainly by recreationals, but also post-flop where people just won't be finding the right lines to attack you. You can just do a lot of betting, a lot of aggressing. You can run people over in this spot at low stakes. So given that you have upwards of 60% fold equity here in theory, it's no wonder that a hand like King 7 off, that is a whatever call, you know, King 8 off, something like this, Jack 8, 10 8, these kinds of hands, they'll be around break even by calling if they choose to call. And therefore, you can do anything with them in theory. You can fold them, you can call them, and you can also 3-bet them, because when you're in position with two semi-playable cards, sometimes I refer to these hands as semi-trash, you don't really need anything else. And as long as you're not against some 4-bet monkey, someone that's going to 4-bet you all the time and just grossly overbluff, and those players do exist, so you want to know who they are, but as long as that's not your opponent, the highest EV action a priori here is going to be to 3-bet. If you're at 25 and L and you're in the big blind and an unknown opponent opens and you have 10-8 offsuit, while the solver says you can take all three lines, 3-betting is likely to be the best play. And the regs that move out of that stake default to that against weaker players, recreationals, ABC regs, you know, the normal run-of-the-mill opponents in that game. The players who get stuck in a game like 10 and L or 25 and L have some aversion to hands like that. They look at it and say, I would rather have a suited hand, I'd rather have a blocker, I'd rather have a value hand. And they almost just compare their holding to one that they would feel more comfortable with. So try and understand where the EV comes from, not just in theory here, but against humans. And if a solver can pull this off against another solver with 0 skill edge, you can pull this off against your pool, because even if you're break even and you're hovering around one big blind winning or losing, you're still a lot better than the average reg in your pool, right? Because rake is a thing. But this is a spot that just favors in position. Money flows to the in position player in this spot because of the nature of the kinds of mistakes that humans make in these games. The money flows to the in position aggressor in theory, but even more so in practice. So 3-bet that 10-8 offsuit.